The Duffers love teasing the Stranger Things audience, don't they? Like, why would you tell us there will be a spin-off without giving even the slightest hint? Just tell us. But of course, their lips are sealed. This means, obviously, that there are a bajillion and 73 theories out there. Lucky for you, we've dug deep into the web to find the best, most fan-supported ideas. First up, a little gossip. Before getting into the spin-off suggestions, let's talk about why it was even necessary. Because if you see the opinions online, fans aren't even all that hyped about the new show. Why is that? Most probably because of what the Duffers said on their podcast with Josh Horowitz. The spinoff will be vastly different from the Stranger Things we know and love. That's kind of a bummer, isn't it? But listen to this. Apparently, Finn Wolford was the only one amongst the cast who guessed it right. He said his idea out loud, saying that it would make a great spinoff, and he was right. So it can't be that unimaginably different if he can guess it right. But then again, that kid's smart, so who's to say? Hey Finn, come out the door, man. We just want to talk, alright? Okay, back to why it was needed. Look, obviously Stranger Things is Netflix's favorite child for a reason. Now even more so than ever, because they keep shooting themselves in the leg and are rapidly losing subscribers. So the one thing keeping their boat afloat is this season, and they need to have the security of brains. And we all know what that means. They need to put their hearts and souls into the spinoff to make it good. The last thing, the Duffers won't be showrunners for it, but still, they have a say in what's coming next. Now, for the first idea, Jim Hopper. The internet seems to agree that seeing a show centered around young Jim Hopper would be very interesting. Firstly, because David Harbour on a set, roll the cameras and you'll already have the audience hooked. Though de-aging him would be tricky. Hopefully, a clean shave will help, but it's going to be great story-wise too. We know that Hopper spent time in the Vietnam War and also as a policeman in New York. Remember in the second season, when Elle finds all those boxes in Hop's basement, there's one labeled Vietnam and another labeled New York. Wouldn't it be fun to see the younger, sassier Jim going around in New York City solving mysteries in the evenings, because mornings are, of course, for coffee and contemplation. Then comes the war. There's also this theory online, most probably based on one of the comics or books, that the first human experiments were done in Vietnam. It'll be fun to see how he fits in that storyline. Also, his monologue this last season to Enzo revealed more about his personal life than we've ever seen before, which kind of made us want to know more. So, seeing his family life would be great. There's so much to do with this character, so the creators better, because you don't mess around with Jim. If this happens, obviously there won't be any of the upside downery yet, so the Duffers can have their way of making it different than what we have now. Just Jim being cool and figuring things out. Secondly, we have a different setting. The major component that gives Stranger Things its signature feel has to be the small town where nothing ever happens setting, except for like the fabric of time and space tearing and a squelching monster killing teenagers. But assuming that by the end of season 5, Hawkins is saved, the spinoff could take the trouble elsewhere, ideally to a big city, and this would of course be well into the 90s, or maybe even the early 2000s, because of all the time jumps. Imagine absolute monstrosities occurring in the New York subway. Wait, that's normal. How about other sinister things happening in the city, but nobody wants to believe it's supernatural or interdimensional? Oh, and with everyone occasionally blasting the daylight out of Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, and Britney Spears. This could work even without our main cast, which seems to be something the Duffers allegedly want to explore. Lord knows why, because it is this cast that'll pull in the viewers. Anyway, let's move forward with our concept. So, whoever the new group of people is in this scenario go around looking for clues, and they come across what happened in Hawkins in the 80s. They try and look for those people, like who the hell's Nancy Wheeler? And oh, an ice cream man boy beat up some monster with his bat. Sure you did that, Steve Schmerrington. Actually, this would work best if our current main characters all get killed off by the end of season 5. Wow, it physically hurts to say that. But just considering the premise of this particular spin-off, it'll be fun to see new people investigate all these deaths in Hawkins that are covered up to seem normal but are actually something else entirely. Also, there's the anthology series. Stranger Things was meant to be an anthology series, with each season covering different stories with different characters. Then because of the success of the first season, they decided to keep telling the same story and the rest is history. But now with the spin-off on the horizon, the door to explore that thing is open. If it turns out to be a one-season show, a different mystery with a different cast would be best. But if it ends up having multiple seasons, then a story a season could work too. In all honesty, an anthology would be perfect if they really want to make this show without the original cast members, because otherwise it's going to be a bit difficult to digest, replacing them all together with a new set of people. This way the new stories can be introduced without the OG gang having having to step down from their throne. As people have suggested online, what would make this really interesting would be if they take each mystery to a new country. We'll get to see different cultures dealing with supernatural things according to their own lore. Imagine some Japanese, African, or Indian mythology seeping into the Stranger Things universe. It'll be awesome. And of course, the Hawkins Lab. The Duffer Brothers completely ruled out the possibility of an 11 spin-off, but that doesn't mean we can't get one about the other kids. Sure, Henry Creel snapped as many of them as he could, but we never got to know what became of the kid who was with Dr. Brenner at the time of the massacre. We could even suggest that the Callie plotline could be explored, but we're afraid of the wrath of the Stranger fans, because that just wasn't it. But this goes deeper than just the kids. Don't we all want to know more about Dr. Brenner? His backstory would be interesting to watch. How many perfectly fitted suits does he have? How is he still solving crossword puzzles after being used as a landing pad for a leaping, hungry Demogorgon? So many questions. This could actually help discover more of the Creel family as well, because we're never told how Henry got his powers, but more importantly, how did Brenner know he had them? We know that he did all these experiments with the mothers and then took their children to the lab. Maybe he tried the same thing with Miss Creel years earlier, but couldn't get Henry as a baby. Wait a minute, he could be his actual father. Scandalous. Mr. Creel was in the military, to be fair, so make of that what you will. Lastly, the IT theory. This one's quite popular among the fans on Reddit and everywhere else as well. So what the creators could do is tell a completely different story with a new cast. Again, causes us physical strain saying that, and set it in the present, like 2020s or 2010s. What happens is that a new mystery emerges decades after the Hawkins one's resolved, assuming it's resolved in season 5. This should also be set preferably in another city where nobody knows what went down there, which won't be hard because even the people of Hawkins don't seem to know what happens every few months. Fire will be raining down at them and they'll be like, wow, the rain's red, how totally normal. Looking at you, Ted Wheeler. Anyway, the surviving members of our main cast, who are grown up now, remember that, can pop up out of nowhere, maybe in the middle of the season, and join forces to fight evil once again. The creators get their new story, and we get a shout out to the show where OG show we're so obsessed with. Everyone's happy. Oh, and do stay for these. Those were our top 5 series picks, but there are fun ones on Reddit that just can't be ignored, so please enjoy. First, a Steve Robin buddy cop series, where they get fired from one job per episode. Amen to that. Okay, and there's a thread on Reddit where people suggest the stupidest spin-off pitches. Listen to what they have to say. A series where we get to see Ted doing his dull job with dull people, and him constantly getting into fights and losing immediately, and he narrates everything in his tired Ted way. Also, there's this, a series of Hawkins before the Upside Down. Just nothing happens. People go to the cafes, eat something, and go home. The epic finale features an owl attacking Eleanor Gillespie's head because it thought that her hair was a nest. This show's called Normal Things. People are having so much fun with this. That's a wrap for this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.